Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 9 at the Fairgrounds on Louisiana Derby Saturday is the Grade 2 $500,000 New Orleans Classic. We're going a mile and an eighth on the main track. Let's take a peek at this field. Only one horse in this race, Mike, has earned a triple-digit Buyer speed figure, and the number 2 Olympiad has reached that feat on 3 separate occasions, and he's really improved since being stretched out around 2 turns. He's the morning line favorite for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado.
Yeah, and he's just a horse to beat in here. He's got really good tactical speed in a race that feels like it won't be run at a fast early pace, Dan. And his last 2 races are good. They're the first two-turn routes of his career, and he ran really well in both of those races.
I agree with you that this pace won't be run at a quick clip. Let's take a look at the Time Form US pace projector. They concur. It's a blue bar scenario that favors horses on or near the early lead. That being said, I can see a situation where the number 1 Promise Keeper is aggressively ridden from the inside to at least keep Olympiad company.
Yeah, he's going to show speed in this race. He had plenty of speed as a 3-year-old, Dan, off the layoff last time in the Razorback. He just didn't break that well from the gate, so they took him back, but they're probably not going to ride him that way here.
You're absolutely right about Promise Keeper's last race. It was his first start off a long layoff in the Razorback. He didn't break well. Florent Giroux was a little bit tentative with him, I thought, early because he was being squeezed on both sides. The horse fell back in the early portion of the race, farther back than he usually is. And I thought he did well to pass some tired horses at the end of that race, showed some life in a race that didn't have a lot of speed. He finished ahead of another horse that might have been pace compromised, a horse you liked last week, Rated R Superstar, who came back to win the Grade 3 Essex with a 99 Buyer.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons to like Rated R Superstar coming out of that Razorback, was just the race did not set up well for his running style at all. And that was certainly the case for Promise Keeper as well. Once he didn't break great, they took him back. He actually put in a really good late finish in that race and actually passed Rated R Superstar right at the wire to get up for 4th. Galloped out well after the wire. I was a big fan of this horse as a 3-year-old, Dan. I thought he showed some real potential for Pletcher. He's going to be forward in here, and I think he has a real chance to take a big step forward in this spot.
And you could argue that a mile and an eighth is actually his best distance. He won the Peter Pan going a 1-turn mile and an eighth at Belmont, but also won around 2 turns at this distance at Keeneland. The number 2 is Olympiad. He's won 3 of his last 4 starts. Both of his 2-turn races have resulted in triple-digit Buyer wins. He won the Mine Shaft last time out in probably a similar race shape as this race. He got up close to a slow pace, and he was able to draw clear late.
Yeah, I mean, he ran well in there. He got a perfect trip in the Mine Shaft last time, sort of sitting up on a pace that was just sort of, even early, Dan. They really picked it up the final half mile or so in there and really sprinted on home. He ran well in that race, and it was a good field. I can't knock the performance. He won his 2-turn debut back in January at Gulfstream Park. Similar sort of situation there, just sat right up on the pace and was way too good for those horses. I mean, really, when you start taking his form apart, there's no bad races on his card. He's just a good horse.
Like Promise Keeper, the number 3 Super Stock is going to make his 2nd start of the form cycle after attempting to rally in the Razorback. In that race, he was closer to the pace than Promise Keeper. He just looked a little bit flat in the end. I wish he did some more running, but you're getting quality connections at a nice price, and the source likes a mile and an eighth. He's a millionaire.
Yeah, I saw those same things, Dan. I mean, I guess he has, some kind of an excuse for the Razorback because he was off the pace, but he was closer than some of the others. It was just overall a pretty disappointing performance, but we know he's better than that. And I agree with you. I think 9 furlongs is a really good distance for him.
I wonder if the 4 Happy American gets a little bit of a mulligan for that race in the Mine Shaft last time out. There was just no closing going on whatsoever. Olympiad sat off the pace setter, Silver Prospector. They ran 1-2 all the way down to the line, and Happy American passed a few tired horses in the stretch. This was a horse that was in very good form prior.
Yeah, he really was. Distance is obviously no problem for this guy. The 1.25 mile win, I guess we'll see, how that all shakes out back at the end of November there. Big 98 Buyer for that race, though. And he ran well in Tenacious, too. I mean, that was a closer's race. And he just got beat by Chess Chief, but he ran okay in that spot, too. I guess the problem with him, Dan, is his running style, right? He's going to be at the back of the pack early again in here, and they may not go fast in front of him.
Although I mentioned that Olympiad is the only horse in the race to have achieved a triple-digit buyer. The number 5 Proxy got close, and he did get close as an early season 3-year-old with a 97 buyer in a runner-up effort in the Risen Star over this course. Now, after he finished 4th in the Lexington, he suffered some bone bruising. He missed the rest of the year, and maybe it was the best thing that ever happened to this Tappet colt because he seemed to come back a more mature individual. He got a good closer's pace and trip last time out. Fast pace, mid pack, but he was impressive running past that field, Mike.
Yeah, I like the way he won that race too, if only because there really wasn't anyone else closing. He's the only one who made up any ground in that race. The second and third finishers were the horses that were, up on the pace the entire way, and Proxy's the horse that came and got him with nobody else really doing much. Now, it wasn't, that great a field. The second and third place finishers had both been claimed previously in their careers, so they're not, stakes horses necessarily. But listen, this horse was off of a long layoff, as you mentioned, showed some, real potential as a young horse. He's got plenty of pedigree to go on. There's a lot to like about this horse. I didn't like the morning line, but other than that, I can't argue against this horse.
I think you make a great point there because something tells me he's going to be the wise guy alternative to Olympiad in this race. And coming off of just one allowance win, he might be a little bit of an underlay if he is 2-1, 5-2 or so. Chess Chief is up next, and Chess Chief, you just throw out his last race in the Pegasus World Cup. He's just not going to beat horses like Life is Good and Knicks Go. I was surprised at how well he broke in the Tenacious 2 starts back, and then he settled in mid-pack, angled to the outside in the stretch, and just got up over Happy American in just a photo finish where it could have gone either way. He's a solid horse. Timeform US believes he's tactical. I think he's going to have to come from a little bit further back than Timeform has him.
I thought so too, but he probably won't be outrun. And he has shown in some of his races that he can keep it in range if he has to, and he probably has to here. So we'll see if he pulls a trip more like that trip he got in the Tenacious 2 starts back where he ran fine. I don't think if he runs his Tenacious back, he's going to beat the favorites in here, Dan. He probably has to run better than that, but I think he can get a good trip and get a piece of it.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the New Orleans Classic. For the older horses, Promise Keeper ran well off the layoff. Deceptively good race at Oaklawn Park, getting back out to 1 mile and an eighth with the tactical speed to be close. And Mike, there is a situation where he's third choice in this race.
Yeah, that's why I picked him. Again, I was a fan of his last year, so I think there's plenty of upside here. I do think there's a real chance he turns out to be a good 4-year-old for Pletcher. And I liked his Razorback well enough to take a shot in here against Olympiad, who's way the horse to beat.
Agree with you that Olympiad's the horse to beat. Curious to see what we get from Proxy. Concerned about the price he's going to be on the tote. Like the way he finished up, basically won that last race in ridden out fashion. 1-2-5-3 for Mike, 5-2-6-1 for me. It's the New Orleans Classic, race number 9 on Louisiana Derby Saturday. Good luck.